I'm jiving the night, I can hear my heavy breathing. Pay for the kill, but it doesn't seem right. I just love Jive Talking with Shane. Oh, Shane, you're insane. But let's jive, learn news, learn hard rockin' news, yeah. Oh my God. Out of the park with that one, right? Are you going to agree with that or disagree? Out of the freaking park. At the very last minute, I says, I'm going solo. I was going to try and do dig through the ditches and burn through the britches. You've heard me say that 1,000 times. I think it's funny when I say dig through the ditches and burn through the britches. Welcome one and all back to episode 76 of the old horse and pony, dog and pony show. Jive Talking with Shane Diablo, your best friend on the internet, your best friend in the entire world. What do we do here? We read stories that I found interesting this week, and only this week, but sometimes not just this week, stories from the past, but we like to cover like the stuff for the week. So what's great about that is if you're tuning in for this first time, you can literally go back and listen to those, or you can just wait till the next week with fresh, brand new stories that you go, why is he doing these lame stories when there's so much hard-hitting stuff that could be talked about? And that would be a good question, and I would say, yeah, you're pretty right on that. 76, if you want to listen to it, check it out. You can watch it and listen to it on Spotify. You can watch it and listen to it right here on YouTube. Hey, you want them comments on here? See, I sound like a real radio guy. I listened to 2 episodes of Eddie Junk in the Trunk. So I got this whole kind of radio vibe going. But you want your comments read, you go over to the YouTube video and we get into it. Spoiler, there's Dee Snider for a story. Let's get right into it. About Rob Zombie, you got him right here, Rob Zombie, and you got John 5. John 5 has just told Mr. Zombert that he's leaving for Motley Crue and he's given a full-on cry. Backstage, just a full-on, when someone just kicks you right in that sore spot. John 5 claims Rob Zombie was fine about him joining Motley Crue. He wasn't psyched, per se, but he understood. I'm hoping that we can hear what happened there. During an appearance on yesterday, Wednesday, May 10th edition of Sirius XM's Trunk Nation with Eddie Junk in the Trunk, former Rob Zombie guitarist John 5 spoke about how he came to join Motley Crue last fall as the replacement for the band's co-founding guitarist Mick Mars. He said, as transcribed by Blabbermouth, and he's a very polite, nice fellow, so he would sound like this. Well, I've been friends with Nikki Sixx, Motley Crue's bassist, and Tommy Lee, that's the drummer for Motley Crue, forever and ever. I'm so close to Nikki. We talked like probably, 80 times a day for a decade. And we've done so much work together. We work on the Meatloaf song together, not any good ones. The Monsters Loose, was that a Meatloaf song? 6 a.m., of course, L.A. Rats, the Dirt soundtrack. But other than music, we were just always around. I mean, he was the best man at my wedding, you ding-dongs. And we'd always go to the mall and ride bikes and just do total normal stuff. So when this came about, we were talking to each other on tour, like, all right, dude, I'm going on stage. And he's like, all right, dude, I'm going on stage. I'll talk to you later after the show, and blah, 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 blah. So we talked pretty much every damn ding-dong day. When he was on tour and I was on tour at the same time with the Rob Zombie thing, we were doing Freaks on Parade. It was great shows, packed to the nines, and having a good time and laughing and making music. And the tour ended. We went home, actually. I went to do some Creatures shows. That's his solo project, solo band. My instrumental thing, thank you, Shane, very much for saying that. And Motley Crue was finished. They were off tour, and I was doing some shows, and Nikki called me and said, Listen, Mick is going to retire. And by retire, I mean he's not going to be jamming in the band. And we have these obligations for Live Nation. We have South America booked. We have Europe booked. Would you want to come on board? And I was absolutely, it just like, your brother asking you or something like that. But now the hard part was, this is going to be tough on me, telling Rob Zombert. Because we never had a negative word between us. And he's my buddy, and we made great music and great live shows together for 17 years. And we never really had a problem. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, life is too damn short. And I'm being completely honest with you. Life is short. I want to experience as much as I can in life. That's a good piece of advice. And I was thinking about myself. And I was like, I want to do this for me because I'm 51 years old. He's older than me. I'm 51 years old at the time. And I was like, I want to do this. I want to experience this. How many times do you get a new chapter in your life at this magnitude later in life, question mark. I talked to Rob and he understood. Rob is smart, rational person. He wasn't psyched, but he understood. And I think that was amazing of him. A real blessing. And he was just like, go get him. No, he went, yeah, go get him. He was fine about it. And then they got Mike Riggs, who I think is a great addition. That's who he was using when Rob did the early solo records. Yeah, he's the guy that's on Dig Through the Ditches and Burn Through the Britches. That's Mike Riggs. He had another band. It's kind of a horror. It was kind of Rob Zombie-esque, but it wasn't named Riggs or anything like that, I don't think. But I can't remember the name of that band. Well, they got Mike Riggs, who I think is a great addition to the band, by the way. That's who he was using we talked about it already. Early records. And I think it's a great addition. And they are kicking so much ass. Detailing how he told Rob about his decision to leave his band and join Motley Crue, John 5 said, I told Rob before it got out in the press. But I agreed to Nikki, and I called Rob, and I said, this is what's happening. And we did a show, Louder Than Life, together. And that was my last show with Rob in Kentucky. And then they got Riggs, and we're rehearsing with him and did the Aftershock show. And then it was announced. My time frame is not great at all. But then I believed it was announced a little bit after that. But it was no bad blood or anything. It wasn't anything bad. It wasn't dramatic or anything. And Rob was super cool. He was like, hey, I get it. He was cool about it. Asked if he has spoken with Rob since his announcement that he was joining Motley Crue. To be honest, can I be frank? You be honest, I'll be frank. I haven't. I miss talking with him and texting with him. I'm more worried about him not texting me back or not replying. I think that would really break my heart. That's the thing. I think I'd really be bummed about that. But I haven't. To answer your question, no, I haven't. He hasn't texted or ringle-dingled me. So there you have that. Hey, let's stay on the John 5 tip for a minute here, because here's that fella. He does cameos, and he goes, hey, guys, good to see you, buddy. Keep on rocking, yeah. That's Vince Neil there. And Vince Neil says, Motley Crue's Vince Neil says, John 5 was ready to play the set before we even hired him. That's how dang good this guy is, this John 5. He knew all those songs. And he probably learned them over the phone because he talked to Nikki Sixx 80 times a day, so they probably playing their instruments. Drink break. Let's get into this. While promoting his upcoming appearance as guest judge, he's going to be a guest judge, on the music competition show Banded, the musician competition, Motley Crue singer Vince Neil spoke to Access TV about the band's latest addition, former Rob Zombie guitarist John 5 Alive joined Motley Crue last fall as the replacement for the band's co-founding guitarist Mick Mars, who announced his retirement from touring with Motley Crue last October as a result of worsening health issues.
We have the honeymoon situation right now,
Vince said, transcribed by Blabbermouth.
We really love John. He was ready to play the set before we even hired him. He knows all the Motley Crue songs. He knows everything down to the letter. So we didn't have to do a lot of rehearsing for the stadium tour because he was right there.
Last month, Motley Crue's bassist Nikki Sixx told Wyatt of UK's Planet Rock about Motley Crue's decision to hire John 5. I've been friends with John forever, and I was making jokes as long as you're a 5. I feel good being a 6. The kind of my Nikki Sixx is kind of going into Tommy Lee territory. You know, stupid best buddy jokes. Me and that guy have been either hanging out at each other's houses, writing songs, talking on the phone 80 times a day. He plays guitar all day long, so he comes over here and he grabs one of them guitars and brings his own, and we just sit around and play and rock and talk about the 70s and how great Lynyrd Skynyrd and Scooby-Doo was. He continued, my wife just sits there when Mick told us he was leaving the band, and I told her I'd talk to Tommy Lee, he's the drummer of Motley Crue, and Vince, and everybody feels that John would be a great fit. I hadn't called John yet because it was only 6 a.m. It was only, get it? 6 a.m. John yet because he had to be sure we were doing everything correctly. My wife said, well, that's great. I said, what do you mean that? She goes, well, you'll be going on stage and you'll be on the phone to John. And they're like, you got to go on stage. And he'll be like, okay, call me back in an hour and a half. So we're always chatting and jamming, and the friendship is wonderful. Him and Tommy are really close, and Vince loves him. He's just a great guy. Okay, this is all everyone else talking, but the guy that they got meat and potato heads right here. So I guess that was his piece of it right there. He just said, we're in the honeymoon, baby. He knows all the songs. So there you have that. Let's get off the John 5 now, okay? Let's get off John 5 and Motley Crue and stuff and get over to Blackie Lawless. We want to wish him a very get well soon, or get over to a surgeon soon. Wasp's Blackie Lawless to play remaining shows on European tour while seated. He's got back problems, and look at the way he's standing there. If that doesn't tell you he's herniated a disc in his lower back, I don't know what does. Look at, he's standing there like he's just picked up, he's got the cabbage and the taters and everything in the wheelbarrow, and he's heading back to the house. Wasp frontman Blackie Lawless, who recently revealed that he has been performing on the band's ongoing European tour with a herniated disc in his lower back, has announced that he will be playing the remaining 5 shows on the trek while seated in a chair that will be built into his custom mic stand, which he has nicknamed Elvis. In a message posted, in a message posted Wednesday, May 10th on Wasp's official website, Lawless wrote, as many of you already know, I had a serious setback at the hands of a very unqualified doctor here in Europe about 2 weeks ago into the tour. I've been receiving treatment at a hospital in Berlin, and that team of doctors has been nothing short of fantastic. But at the same time, they're strongly advising me to stop the tour and go back to LA and begin my rehab, but it's hard for them to understand this is the only 40th anniversary I'm ever going to get, not to mention the fans that have stood by us this entire time, have waited over 3 years, and because of the pandemic suffered 3 different sets of tour postponements. I go back to Berlin on Friday for 2 days for more treatments, which means both the shows in Italy will be missed. At the start of the doctors, they told me without rest and rehab, I would definitely get worse, as hard as I've pushed through these shows. They were right. The show last night in Zurich was cut short by 2 songs, and I do apologize for that. But the pain reached a point where I could no longer perform. It lasted throughout the entire show. My legs were giving out on me, and it got dangerous. I will not be able to stand to do the remaining 5 shows. So the compromise I reached with the doctors was, if I would stay seated in a chair to do the last 5, then they will give me the clearance to finish the tour and do those remaining 5 shows. Oh, thank you, Doc. The 66-year-old guitarist vocalist whose real name is Stephen Duran. I don't know why they always put that in there. I don't want to have Stephen Duran in the back of my head when I'm thinking Blackie Stephen Duran Lawless. The 66-year-old vocalist guitarist, Blackie Lawless, continued, I've never done this before, but please understand my intentions is to finish this tour, come hell or high water, and give this incredible, dedicated fan base that has been with us from the beginning, the show they have all heard about. Plus, we're going to build the chair into Elvis. Hey, he's been with us the whole time, and he will finish this tour right beside me because he's basically one of the band. But as frustrating as this all has been, I can't wait to get into rehab and then destroy America again on the 2nd in the final leg of the 40th anniversary World Tour. We are coming back, ... And we're coming to hurt somebody. Well, don't hurt your back, buddy. Get in there to the rehab. They say that's the best things to do. Let's get over here to Lars. This was very interesting to me because I didn't know that there was a reason behind the snake pit. If you don't know what the snake pit is, every concert, I guess from probably when they got back into arenas or whatever, right? Did they do good with the Load albums? Maybe they did good. But it's people planted in the middle of the stage area. They call it the snake pit. That's where you spend $2,000 on your ticket and Lars's sweat can drip down on you from the stage. It says here, Lars Ulrich reveals inspiration for Metallica's concert Snake Pit. He's very hard to do. I'm not going to try. In a new interview with Apple Music, Zane Lowe, Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich, spoke about how he and his bandmates came up with the idea of creating the Snake Pit, a standing-only area built into the center of the stage so that a select group of fans could experience the show on a more human scale. He said, so one of our managers back in New York in the late 80s, early 90s had the great idea that when we go to the restaurant, that the best seat in the restaurant was actually not in the house, it was in the kitchen. So in crazy cool restaurants, if you could somehow get into the kitchen and eat in the kitchen, you were in there, well, where all the action was. So the idea that came out of that was the Snake Pit on the Black Album tour. Okay, I saw him twice on the Black Album, but I don't remember that. I don't remember the Snake Pit. The Snake Pit on the Black Album tour was basically to be in the middle of the stage. So we had a stage that was shaped like a diamond, and there was 30 or 40 spots in the middle of the stage. Radio contest winners, friends, family, and few crazy metalheads from around the audience would end up in the Snake Pit, and they would be on stage with us. And then it morphed, basically, for, I guess, 30 years now. The Snake Pit has been an integral part of the least a Metallica indoor show. And then in the stadiums, when we've been playing outside, it's been sort of this extension of the stage that you've seen. You've seen it. They never been like crazy big. They're room for a couple of hundred here and a couple of hundred there. Whatever, man. So there you have that. Snotty nose here. Ulrich added that the current iteration of the Snake Pit holds 900 to 1,200 people, depending on the rules of the local fire marshal. Snake Pit ticket packages for Metallica's M72 World Tour reportedly run from $1,038 up to a whopping $4,398, limited to 2 per fan, but you can still enter to win them if you're a member of the fan club. So there you have that, guys. Look at that. What does this say? In a year and a half in the life of Metallica, a documentary about the making of the Black Album. Oh, I've seen that. That actually came with the cassette, right? Because I feel like when my friend bought the cassette and we sat down and we laughed at Nothing Else Matters, the album's grown on me now. I've talked about this before. But I want to say that there was a VHS cassette that came with it that was the making of the Black Album. And you see old Bob Rock in there and all that. The documentary about the making of the Black Album, Lars said the Snake Pit was a part of a large plan to push the envelope. This time around, we really want to fuck with the concept of arena rock. We came up with a stage that was definitely different than what any other band has done, playing every song in a different formation, where we'd have drums moving around, James Hetfield, Metallica frontman moving around, and the Snake Pit with the kids in the middle. With the kids in the middle, mind on the griddle, laughing, nothing but a funny, funny riddle. Thank God for a Larsy boy. Let's get into this. Dee Snider. Did you know that he is a novelist? Among all the other talents that this guy has, and you could say you knew that was coming, right? When he read that, that was pretty eloquent little speech that he delivered to the PMRC. So he had the chops to write. Well, his first novel, Frats, will arrive in June, and I wanted to know what this is about. Now, I don't read books. They're too hard for me. You see what I do here. I have a hard time with it. It takes me, some people get through a book in, 2 days. It would take me 2 months to get through a book. I do love audio, so I hope he does the audiobook or has someone really good do it. And I wonder if this is a horror novel or something. Let's get into it and find out. Twisted Sister singer Dee Snider, first fictional novel, Frats, will now be released on June 2nd via Red Penguin Books. That's pretty good, isn't it? Isn't Penguin Books big? Based on true events, Frats is said to be a 70s period piece and a coming of age that's all about toxic masculinity and growing up in a very toxic environment. And when he means Brooklyn, right? And how it affects people. Because he grew up but he was dressed like a woman on stage in the 70s. You gonna go up and tell Dee Snider anything? I don't think so. He'd kick you right in the. You have the goldfish. What do they call those? Stilettos. What do they call those shoes when they got like Kiss wear? Please get in the comments and tell me what that is. You ever see those ones from the 70s have water in them and there's a goldfish? Imagine Dee Snider kicking you in the nuts with those. Frats. Here's the Frats synopsis. Dee Snider's book. When young Bobby Kovacs unexpectedly moves with his parents to Baldwin, Long Island, the high school hallways of 1972 proved to be littered with boys of all shapes and sizes desperate for one thing and one thing only, to belong. As he ventures ever deeper into the jungle of battling brotherhoods or self-proclaimed frats, hazing ceremonies, broken promises, and his own sense of self lead Bobby down and his own sense of self period, lead Bobby down the dark path of joining forces with what he fears the most in order to go on. But how far will he go when he is willing to hurt as he fights to survive? Oh, God, that's a great book. I hope he reads it to me. 3 years ago, Dee described the book as a period piece coming-of-age story in Long Island, New York, 1972-73, inspired by true events. But he quickly clarified, no, it's not my story. The 68, so it's not what do they call that? Autobiography. Whatever. Drink break. Satire, I don't know what the hell you call it. Get down there in the comments and tell me if you understand me at all. The 68-year-old musician who lives in Southern California previously wrote 2 other books. I didn't know. Did you know? I didn't know. Dee Snider's Teenage Survival Guide, or How to Be a Legend in Your Own Lunchtime, which was originally published in 1987 but was re-released in 2019. It's Snider's official autobiography, Shut Up and Give Me the Mic, which was released in 2012. Oh, that reminds me, guys. I did have interactions on Twitter when I had a Twitter with Dee Snider about this. When the book came out, Shut Up and Give Me the Mic, I just said, I wonder if it's ghost written. You know, like he had a ghost writer. And he piped right up going, fuck that. No, I wrote every goddamn word of it. Don't you say that. Don't you. Okay, I was just asking the question. Which was released in 2012 via Gallery Books, an imprint of Simon and Schuster. Snider wrote Teenage Survival Guide more than 3 decades ago when he was approached by Doubleday to produce a sequel to the popular book from the 50s called Twixt 12 and 20 by American music icon Pat Boone. He wasn't no icon to me, but I wasn't born in the 50s. That's quite the mouthful there. Twixt 12 and 20. What does that twixt mean? 2? 2, 12, 20? I don't know. Why don't you say 2? All right, let's get into your comments. That's right. We read your comments at the end of every episode, and you guys usually have some pretty damn good stuff to go on here. Ryan Wade coming in. He says, that intro song seemed to fall into place so perfectly, perhaps too well. I like to see you challenged. I appreciate some floundering and a good bungle. I like those words, floundering and bungle. Your key twinkling always beats a pre-programmed tune, in my opinion. Okay, yeah. So you're saying go like I did with the beginning of this one, not those pre-songs, because it's only like 7 Christmas songs or something that's on that keyboard. It's possible that John Oliva may have been Sabbath's 4th best singer. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame fan vote doesn't seem to count for much. ... Your Greg Harris impression sounds like Patrick Warburton. Yeah, that's the dude that was on Seinfeld and did the Tick, right? If you know who that is... So Metallica won a Grammy in 1990 for an album released in 1988? Is that right? Weird. Okay. Wow, is that right? Or was it the Black Album that they won for? Because he would be talking about Injustice for All, wouldn't he? Won. That's what they won it for. My brains are bending. Still Ryan here. Weird. Lady Gaga is a bona fide rocker. I'm sure someone already said this, but I'm Like a Bird. Okay, that's I'm Like a Bird. Is by Nelly Furtado. That outro song is my jam. He Hey, there you go. Good job. I wonder if you guys see me hitting these and you go, guys, he is going to be doing an episode that's going to be up on Saturday because I'm getting all the hearts are there. Probably be a good way to realize it, right? Miss Althea coming in, the dumbstruck fool says, it's a short list this week. Everyone's like, yay, get this bitch to shut up. No, we don't ever say that. I'm scratching that out right now. The theme song was divine. And at this point, I think you can put together a compilation album simply entitled Getting Naked with Shane D. I don't know why that pops in, but it's always getting naked in the bed. No disrespect to John Oliva, but it is a slow news day when someone has to talk about nearly auditioning for anybody, let alone Black Sabbath. True. Iron Maiden and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Waiting with bated breath for Bruce to make a some degree of ungrateful statement when, not if, Maiden finally makes it in. You know, considering the situation with the German hooker and all. Yeah. Yep, he's going to have some things to say when he gets up there. I'm surprised he hasn't piped off every time going, we don't care about it, we don't want it, we don't like it. I bet you Steve Harris does. And I'd like to see old Paul Di'Anno and all those guys get up there and get inducted in, you know? Even old Blaze Bayley, let him be in there. You're going to let the third guitar man, who's great, by the way, but you're going to let him be inducted, aren't you? Or are they just going to do that like they did with Kiss, right? Where it was just just the particular dudes? Because I don't think Eric and Tommy got inducted in. Anyways, still Miss Althea on Sully and Lady Gaga. Okay, perfect and justifiable opportunity to mash up Bad Religion and Bad Romance. Period. I wish I know I'm not don't know that I'm sad to say this, but I don't know what Bad Religion is. I know the band Bad Religion. I'm assuming that's a Godsmack song, but I know the Lady Gaga more than I know the Godsmack. I'm a Gaga over Godsmack. Okay? Still Miss Althea, Ride the Wind was on Poison's third album, Flesh and Blood. Okay. So there was a third, their last was Cece. She knows me. Yes. Okay, so Flesh and Blood. And then they got Native Tongue. Native Tongue came after that, period. Okay. Bad movies we love, Miss Althea here. 1962's The Brain That Wouldn't Die. You can never go wrong with this classic. Lulls me every time. Okay, off topic. I have went absolutely crazy with rock docs this last week. I watched one on the band Morphine, and you got to watch that, and that is insanity. I watched one on Randy Rhoads, which I learned so much shit that I had no idea about. And I won't go watch that because I don't want to spoil some of the stuff that's in it. But I was like, I did not know that. Wow. I wanted to watch. This is to Y&T and Dave Meniketti. I want to watch the Y&T documentary, but they want to charge me $8.99 to rent it. That's a bad model because you're going, let's ding the fans right out of the gate, and then we'll lower the price or whatever. Put it at $3.99, baby. I want to see that documentary, but I'm not going to pay $8.99 or $9.99 to own it. I'm sorry. I don't like owning anything because you never watch it again. But yeah, so there's that. Miss Althea, there you go. There's your hearts. We got Oscar here. He says, I remember you were too hard on yourself in the previous episode regarding the keyboard introduction. Because I remember... however, it seems you spent quite some time composing this introductory tune. Your efforts are commended. So he's saying, it's an A for effort. It sounds a little risque. I like it. You tickled those ivories well, my friend. Thank you. I got to give him the thumb, too, on that. Flattery gets you everywhere. Levi coming in. Love the theme song. It's very fancy. Yes, it's the best version so far. Thank you. Tim, is this going to be request? Because I do have you coming up here. Yeah, it says, no rush. Could you do an official music video for Kiss It Goodbye by Crowbot featuring Howard Jones? Yes, of course. I've got it all ready to go because, you know, Howard Jones, that's enough said. I'm going to do it. And Crowbot's great. So it's all set somewheres, okay? But remember next time, Jive Talkin is not for requests. You know, and you get a thumb for that because I apologize for just, you know, ripping you up like that. Jolly Jake coming in, encouragement. We give you encouragement. That's the word I was trying to figure out. You guys you bring me up. You lift me up. And so you get in a heart for that, okay? Let's go back over here so we got a good image of old screaming Jay Hawkins and John 5 alive. There we go. Let's get out of here. I wish you all the best. I want you to get out there and seize the day. Here's something you can do for anxiety. And I learned this because anxiety panic attacks and anxiety and everything comes from you fretting on future things to happen. You need to refigure your brain so you are in the moment of now, right? So one thing that I figured out is, and I think this was FDR, but remember the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Now, what I do every time I'm feeling anxiety, I got to go to this function. I got to go here. I got to do something that's giving you high anxiety. Put that and think of that old-timey recording of the voice as well. And just think about that in your mind. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And it will help you out with any kind of, because really, what do? You go to that event, you go to that thing, you deal with this situation, whatever it is that gives you that panic attack, that anxiety, that all of that. And as soon as you go through it, you go, oh shit, that wasn't that bad. Why was I all freaked out about it? It's because you're worried about future events instead of being in the moment. Can I get a snap? All right, let's get out of here. Let's do it. Don't mess with me now. Let's go. 5. That's the one thing I didn't want to happen. Patterns. It's the button that I always... Oh. Wow, where's that been hiding? Jive Talkin. Can I get a job? Can I get a job now? Can I get a job? Can I get a job now? Can I get a job? Can I get a job now?
Can I get a jive heavy metal rockin' news?
Jive! Motherfucker jive. Jive, jive, jive. Motherfucker jive, motherfucker jive. Now, whoop.